Hello and welcome back to another drawing video. So in today's video I'm going to be drawing a few people from my past that I really hated. First of all, we have this ogre-like guy. No, in fact I think he was an ogre. I started working for this guy when I was hired by this restaurant to work as a kitchen porter. I used to like this type of job. There was not too many things to do besides washing dishes. The staff did not seem to mind me slacking off or taking longer than necessary breaks, not talking to the staff during dinner rush. Anyway, it was fabulous. The owner of the establishment, an elderly lady, was kind to me. And when she retired, the restaurant came under new management. That is when Shrek became my new boss. This new guy, Shrek, let's just say we did not get along. Shrek was loud, rude, and had quite a short temper. You could tell by the way he looked and the quality of his clothes he'd just come from some swamp. Besides his short temper, he was quite irritable, and little things would enrage him. Shrek did not like the way I worked.
"Working hard? Are you hardly working? Hey Mac!"
is what he would say. It's not as if there were too many dishes to clean anyway. I didn't get what he was really going on about. Who was Mac? He never referred to me by my name, and when he wanted to, he would just say,
"Hey, you!"
He only called me Daniel when he was annoyed or angry at me. Shrek gave me the worst jobs possible, like cleaning the
"Squatters!"
or when I would cut onions, he would remind me that
"Ogres have layers!"
I told him that if he wants layers, he should just go buy a parfait. One time, he asked me to prepare him, what was it? I think it was called a mud bath. Anyway, the bath was in a right state, and there was this foul-smelling mud all over the place. There were nails all over the walls surrounding the bathtub. So I decided to clean the room and put some bleach in this foul-smelling mud bath. And then I went back to my other chores. Suddenly, I heard this loud roar, and Shrek barges into the kitchen. Now he's a few shades lighter than he usually is. That's because of the bleach. He then turns to me and says,
"Now this is the part where you run away."
One day, when I went into work, there were 3 German pigs now working in the kitchen. They were, for some odd reason, doing all of my work. I had been fired by Shrek, and he didn't tell me. I tried to ask them if I had been replaced, but they wouldn't give me a straight answer. When Shrek came into work, he explained that the pigs had been brought in to temporarily do my work, and my new job was to tend to his swamp. Now, this swamp, which was just down the road, it seemed that Shrek had brought it with him. Now, Shrek's home was in a right state. I was confused. What was I looking at exactly? I asked, who would want to live at a place like this? Shrek responded,
"And that would be my home."
That may have been his home, but it was nothing more than a tree stump. So, my new job was taking care of Shrek's swamp. I would clean Shrek's house and take care of any repairs. No matter how hard I tried to look after Shrek's swamp, he would always find something to get angry with. Like at one time, I put a huge hole through Shrek's mud wall. All the time I let the wood in Shrek's home go rotten. I mean, when I took this job, I was hired as a kitchen porter. Now I was looking after his swamp. What did he expect to happen? Luckily, I found another job and told Shrek that I was leaving, as I had found work elsewhere. Now, what would you expect from any boss when you leave? You know, you'd expect a nice little statement, you know? They'd be hopeful, you know? They hope, you know, you'd do well in a new workplace. But that was not what Shrek said. He said,
"Bye-bye, see you later." Okay, now moving on to the last person in this video. And this person is probably the most annoying, irritating person that I've ever met in my entire life. And that person is James Corden.
Welcome to the Late Late Show, live from Los Angeles!
I could talk about why I really don't like James Corden, but this required a whole other video. To keep this drawing video to one part, I'm just going to describe my story of the experience of meeting James Corden. This goes back to when I was living in Japan with my ex-wife. One day we were sat at a table in a fancy bar enjoying the night out. Our night was almost ruined when the blonde-haired middle-aged man brushed past our table, knocking over our drinks. The blonde-haired man immediately apologizes and offers to pay for some new drinks and pay our tab, which I gladly accepted. he introduces himself as James Corden, and he's a TV personality of some late night show I've never heard of in America. In hindsight, knowing how this would play out, I should have told him to piss off, and after he paid for our new drinks, we should have just left. Anyway, back to the story. So James got talking to us and told us some useless information about his TV background, which I immediately forgot. He mentioned that he was over in Japan to do an interview with a popular J-pop boy band for his show. Now during our conversation, I mentioned that I'm also a personality, a day-to-day vlogger with a popular YouTube channel and a fan base. Anyway, to keep the story short, James seemed to like my personality, and by the time the conversation was over, James had saved my phone number to his contacts. A few days later, a message appeared on my phone. It was from James. In the message, he mentioned that he just wrapped up his show segment in Japan and that he was now returning back to the US. What was important from the message was one line where James mentioned that it was a pleasure to meet me the other day, and he asked if I want to appear on his TV show. More specifically, to do a carpool karaoke special back in England. He mentions in another text that he thinks that having a personality like mine on his show would be a good fit, and his team would take care of all the arrangements. Now, I only ended up agreeing to be on the show because I thought it'd be good for the revenue, and this was going to be my cash cow moment, bringing me more money and popularity than ever before. When I arrived in England, I met up with James's team, and they took me to the studio set where I was to meet up with James, and he was going to give me an explanation of how this carpool karaoke was going to be filmed. Arriving at the studio, I saw an ecstatic James come to greet me.
Daniel, it's great to see you again. Come on, follow me. This is going to be so much fun.
I was thinking at the time, why was he so happy? Did he treat all his guests this way? His smile was a bit creepy. Following James to the carpool special was going to be filmed, and he said,
Now in the car, you have the camera to the left and right of you, so keep that in mind when they focus on you to smile, haha.
The laugh was unnecessarily cringy. He also mentions,
Now the main camera is with the camera crew, who'll be just driving ahead of us, and so when the song is playing, you've got to really look like you're into it.
He sounded less convincing with every word out of his mouth.
You don't need to sing that well. With the body mic, someone in the studio can change that voice.
Alarm bells were now ringing. The carpool karaoke was a disaster. Firstly, James asked me some really weird questions that I really didn't know how to answer, so I gave him small one-word responses to his questions. There was an air of silence that turned into awkwardness. James then mentioned,
How about we put some music on?
James must have no taste in music, as the songs he put on were terrible. He called them retro British pop music. If they were so retro, how come I haven't heard of them before? What was worse is that James was really into the songs being played. He was dancing to them. If you call it dancing, it was more like a ritual of some sort. But what was even worse was his singing. I understood why actors and celebrities appeared on his carpool karaokes. They are acting. James Corden cannot actually sing. Midway through one of the songs, James noticed that I really wasn't doing anything, just humming what kind of sounded like the current song playing. James then said to me,
Come on, Daniel. You're not even trying to get into the groove of the music. Oh yeah, that's it. Come on, dance at me.
No, I thought I'm not getting into your bloody pagan Wicker Man Island sacrificial ritual dance, and that music is terrifying. So I went back to humming the music, and that is how the rest of the carpool karaoke went. So when the filming was wrapped up, James thanked me.
Thank you
for being on his show, and I went back to Japan. I waited for about 2 weeks. When the carpool karaoke special was on air, I can't even describe my reaction to it. I was too angry about it. It was horrendous. The carpool karaoke made me look as if I was completely unenthusiastic about doing anything, and made me out to be a jerk, and it made me out to be a jerk, and no matter how hard James tried to motivate me, I was not responding to his efforts. Another thing I was angry about was that the camera, when it focused in on me, the camera captured the worst moments in which I looked like I was pulling my face. The worst moment was when I had finished watching this carpool karaoke and I saw the reaction to it online. It was completely negative. Most people online would call me the worst carpool personality ever, or how I looked so unenthusiastic, and how my pulled face gave off bad vibes. People thought that I must have a negative personality. It made me so angry, and it made me think if I had never gone on the show in the first place, I would not have any of this negative reaction towards me online. I should have just told James to piss off. He's ruined my life. I hope you enjoyed this video, unless you are one of those people that I mentioned in the video, then I hope you really did not enjoy this video. I'm talking to you, Streck and James Corden. I have a final message for both of you. I don't like you, and you should go away.